All right, mushroom pod refills. This one's manure and this one's wood. So each one has some substrate, a grain bag, and then some accessories. I'll show you real quick. Comes with a self-healing injection port in case your pod's too tall for your pressure cooker canner. Comes with a filter patch so you can replace it, after each grow. And then it comes with a replacement top filter. Pour the dried grain into the pressure cooker and then pour in 150 milliliters of water. Then put the lid on and lock it. Set it to rice mode for 10 minutes and hit start. All right, so I'm going to pour in the wood substrate into a bowl, and then I'm going to pour in 250 milliliters of water, and I'm going to let it absorb for a few minutes. Once it absorbs for a few minutes, I'm going to mix it up really, really well, and then I'm actually going to set it aside right now, but just let it absorb for like 10 minutes. Be sure to place the top filter. Just going to peel it off. Pop a new one on. If you go to put this in the pressure cooker and it's too tall with this thing on, you don't have to use it, and that's why we include this self-healing injection port. Just unscrew it. And this is a sticker, and it makes it short enough to fit on most of them. Just gonna... There, good to go. All right, the pressure cooker finished releasing steam, so I'm taking the lid off. And I'm just gonna give it a stir. And you can see all the water was absorbed and the grain's nicely hydrated. There's burst grain, that's perfectly fine. And now I'm gonna set aside 60 grams of the grain. This is gonna be for the center of the pod, which you'll see in a minute. And if you don't have a kitchen scale, it's also equal to about 1/3 of a cup. And then I'm gonna come back and mix it again. The bigger measuring cup has the leftover grain from the pressure cooker, and then the smaller one has the grain we're going to use for the center. Set aside 1 handful of the substrate, and we're going to use this for the top, for the casing layer, the top of the pod. All right, so I'm going to mix in that grain really, really well. Mix it up really, really good. And I'm going to take the lid off, and I'm going to start filling it up. Oops. No, Dougie. All right, so fill the pot up. I like to shake it each time I put in a scoop just to make sure it's like nicely mixed and tamped down in there. And I'm just gonna fill it up to basically the bottom of the threads. I'm gonna use the wooden spoon to create a 1" by 1" hole through the center. And we're gonna add that grain that we set aside earlier. And this is going to create a column of grain in the center, so when we inject the pod, the culture or spores or whatever can go straight down to the bottom, and it's going to colonize from the center out, as opposed to the top down. Let's get it all in there, and then I'm going to fold the top in, shake it so that the surface is level, and then we're going to add that casing layer back to the top. And we just do this so that the grain doesn't dry out, because it's right by the filter patch. So we don't want the grain to dry out. Clean those threads. And then I'm going to spray the surface with some water. I just like to make sure that the surface is a little extra hydrated because it's right up against the filter patch where the air exchange happens. You don't have to do this, but if you got a little spray bottle, it definitely helps a little bit. All right, let's put the lid on, screw it on tight. And then I'm going to put a sheet of foil over it. And this just covers the filter patch so that it doesn't get saturated when it runs in the pressure cooker. It's good to go. It's time to pressure cook and sterilize the pod. That's a trivet. And what it does is it raises what you're sterilizing up a little bit so that you can fit water underneath. And that water creates the steam. So I'm going to pour in 2 cups of water for this pressure cooker, but yours may be different, but you just want to fill it up just to the bottom of the pod, or like the bottom of the top of the trivet, basically. So you don't want the pod sitting in water, but you do want some water in there. And then put the pod in. And again, if yours is too tall, you want to switch it out for the self-healing injection port. Now I'm just going to put the lid on and lock it tight. And I'm gonna set it to pressure cook. I'm gonna set it for 3 hours. Turn off that keep warm function, and then I'm gonna press start. Once the pressure cooker finishes sterilizing completely and cools down, just take the foil off and your pot is good to inject.